On this episode of Writing Tandem,
Core values are for the core, which is for the owner, and it's for the team. And to some degree, it's for the clients. But really, they're the heart and soul of a business. Hi there. This is your host, Vivian, and you're listening to Writing Tandem, a podcast that is all things business, entrepreneurship, and the secrets to operating a successful business while still having a life you love. Whether you're a business owner on the verge of taking that side hustle to the next level, or just curious about the world of entrepreneurship, join me as I go behind the scenes of my own business and the businesses of others, unpacking some of the most valuable lessons you can apply today. Let's dive in. Hey, welcome to episode 1. And when I was thinking about what is episode 1, what does this need to be, the big topic that kept circling around my head was core values. Core values, they're one of the things I love to talk about with business owners and just people in general. And they seem to be the glue that keeps organizations held together, or at least an ingredient of the glue that holds organizations together. And so it just seemed like the right place to start. Being a part of the startup scene and hanging around with startup type people, you quickly realize there's a lot of hype around core values. It's kind of like, the ping pong conference tables or provided lunches, which are an absolute must. And I always see like the segways or skateboards to get from one meeting to the next. And I always have to chuckle a little bit, like, is that really what makes a business? But when I first got into business, it was really cool to see those things. And core values also seem to be this must, like a must have. But here's the thing. The way I perceive them at first is you had to have them in order to get them printed in giant vinyl graphics and then like stick them up to the walls so that they become like a trendy decor. And then that proves you're legit and you're a totally with it company, right? At least that's how I perceived core values at first. People would talk about core values and I was like, yeah, the big vinyl graphic artwork that goes on a wall. Like you have to have them for that. And I remember thinking to myself with my first business, we'll be really cool and relevant as a company as soon as we have some kick-ass core values up on our wall. And we used to talk about it a lot, like, okay, what words would we want on the wall? What would it look like? And frankly, I thought about it a lot from an aesthetic standpoint, which now I know is just a tiny, tiny piece here. I remember seeing at more than one company awesome core value artwork and just thinking, man, they just must really have it together. And so that was like, I don't know, a litany test maybe of like what your business was and whether or not it was relevant, whether or not it had these great core values. And truthfully, at the time, I saw the value in how others from the outside would see us once they saw those core values on our wall. Like that would prove we were worthy or legit or had made it, stuff like that. What I didn't realize at the time was that core values have very little to do with outside perceptions, at least not when you think of the real value of them. Core values are for the core, which is for the owner, and it's for the team. And to some degree, it's for the clients. But really, they're the heart and soul of a business. And sure, sometimes you might showcase that heart and soul to others, but it's not really about that. It's about understanding and being hyper self-aware of your business and what you believe and stand for. So self-aware that you can take those ideas and synthesize them down into a few succinct phrases that can be easily remembered and understood by all. Now, sometimes that's way easier said than done. When you look at those cool core values on people's walls or you see them on their website, they look so simple, right? But it can be a little difficult to come up with what these are because it takes a little bit of self-work. If you have a team, it takes some teamwork, but they're really worth it. And so today I'm going to walk through core values. We're going to break down what core values are, why they matter, who they're for, and then I'm going to give you a step-by-step on actually how to make them. Because when I first got started making core values, I really didn't have a blueprint for this. And frankly, it was a little bit of a struggle. So I'm going to take you through a step-by-step process that worked really well for the businesses that I've created since then. Okay, so what are core values anyway? Let's start there. Core values define your business ethics, beliefs, values, and mission in a summary format. That's how I like to look at them. Some core values are a sentence. Some core values are 3 phrases, or they might just be 5 to 7 words. It's totally up to you and what feels right. Also, I need to say this right now, core values can change. Although I usually find it's more like a refresh or update than a total overhaul. But it's important to remember that these aren't necessarily set 100% in stone, and you might need to live with them a little bit and do a little change to them. So more on that in a minute here. Core values are the heart and soul of your business, and that doesn't usually change a lot. These are values. They're not what you do. So it's okay to get some values put together, think about them for a little bit, and then do some refinement. Okay, so these are your values and not what you do. Let's unpack that a bit more. These are not your services or products or anything like that. These are intangible reasons. They're the why and way that you do things. And these are 100% unique to your business. There can be 10 other businesses just like yours, even in the same town, but they do not have identical core values. I 100% promise that. They're unique to you and they often feel very personal. Core values are what your business and your team and your partners stand for in the world. So think of them as the qualities you embrace, the traits that represent your highest priorities. These are your sacred, if you will, and deeply held beliefs. They're the heart of what your organization and its employees stand for in the world. Okay, so why do they matter? Very few businesses start out the gate with concrete core values. In fact, I have to say I really applaud those businesses and their owners who do start out the gate with core values because they're leagues ahead of other businesses in terms of nipping in the bud woes and heartache that are to come. More typically, though, what I see and was my own experience, core values are developed maybe a little haphazardly, if at all. And they come together over the years through trial and error and experiences. And then here's what usually causes the core values to finally come together. There's some problem, and there's a sudden push to create them. It's usually instigated by some total failure or some upheaval in an area, and now suddenly values are needed. One of the biggest reasons I see brands finally decide to make core values is the business owner is frustrated with team members, employees, vendors, or maybe even clients. And then they hit a breaking point. They lose patience, right? When you first start your business, you're kind of going on the hype and excitement. Everybody's on board and everybody's great with everything. And whatever you stand for, I stand for that too. But over time, that starts to fall away. And if you don't have these core values to point to, here's what I hear business owners say all the time. Why don't they get it? They used to get it. Why don't they get it? Why don't they understand that this isn't acceptable? Why is it such a struggle with these people? And sometimes it was that things went so well before. Like, why has this turned into a struggle? I've heard business owners say, I'm going to have to let this person go. Clearly, they just don't get it anymore. Or they'll say, this one happens a lot, I'm working with the wrong clients and I don't know how I got here. And this can go on for years. Look, the thing is, you as a business owner, you know your core values. At least in some sense. You've had them in your head, even if they feel a little squishy. But the thing is, until you can verbalize them, 1, you actually have not fully owned them. And 2, your people haven't had a fair shot. And your people can be your team, it can be your vendors, and it can be your clients. So, If you've not fully owned your core values by doing the work of truly identifying and clearly stating them for yourself, which means writing them down. Now, I hear it all the time. Some people say, I don't need to write them down. I've got it in my head. Okay, so we're just going to pause here for just a second, okay? I'm going to give you a little exercise, and I want you to pause this episode and do it. So here's the exercise. Fair enough. If you're saying to me, Vivian, I don't need to write these down. Fair enough. Let's do this little test. Can you pause this episode right now and rattle off your core values without hesitation? Okay, let's say you can do that. Great. Or can't. Great. Try the test out. Next step, if you ask someone you work with to rattle off the business's core values, can they do it? Without hesitation, can they just 1, 2, 3, here they are. If you can't rattle them off, or they can't rattle them off, then you can't be 100% running your business by them. I guarantee it. So, pause the episode real quick, do the little exercise, see where you land, and then come back to me, all right? Come back to me here, and I want you to write them down. It's not hard. So don't dig your heels in on this one. I hear it all the time. I don't need to write it down. Just write them down. It's going to make a world of difference. Okay, back to it here. So 2, your people haven't had a fair shot. That's really what this comes back to. The people you work with, they can't read your mind. They don't know what they're being held accountable for, and they're just working using their own values. Now, when you first start the business, everyone's excited, right? So the value is almost, we're excited, we're all in. We're excited, we're all in. And so everyone feels like they're on the same page because they're riding the wave, they're riding the momentum of what's going on. However, over time, that starts to erode. Life starts, piling back in. And if these people don't know what the core values are, they're just going to start reverting back to what their core values are. So in short, the people you work with and the clients you choose can't be held to a standard that they don't know. And it's simple as that. Okay, so how do you use core values? Core values are what drive your business, period. Everything comes back to these statements that you come up with. I like to think of them as, like I said before, a sacred vow that you take as a business. This is serious stuff, but it's also incredibly empowering and freeing. When you're uncertain about a decision, you can ask, does this match the core values? When you're hiring, you can ask, does this person hold the same core values? When you bring on a new partner, you can ask, does their business values align or complement our core values? When you need to call out a team member or a vendor, you can actually say, hey, do you feel you're holding up our core values in this situation? That's a really different conversation than just, hey, you're not doing the job. When you celebrate a team member or even yourself and say, awesome, you're a great example of our core values, that's huge. It gives something for everyone to look back to. When you create a new pricing sheet, a service offering, a process, a customer service script, social media posts, write an email, answer the phone, or heck, when you decide what to wear to a meeting or how you show up back at home after a long day at work, you can ask yourself in every single one of those situations, does this reflect our core values well? That makes decision making so much easier. And as business owners, it's so easy to get lost in that echo chamber, right? Am I making the right decision? Am I going the right way? And it can feel a little lonely there. But these core values are next to you every step of the way. They're that guiding light. They're the heart. So when you're asking yourself those questions and you're comparing them against your core values, if the answer is no, then you stop and you recalibrate and you do that with confidence. So if you're asking yourself a question about a new hire and you compare them to your core values and the answer is no, you stop, you recalibrate, even if they seem like the best possible option ever on paper. If there's something that's not matching up with your core values, that's when you go, no, this isn't right. And you can do that with confidence. Or in any of these situations we talked about, when you're making a social media post, does this uphold our core values, or does it feel a little against them? Well, then that's not the right post to make. It's not the right piece of content. When you're writing that email and you get to the end and you're like, I don't know if I should hit send. You can look at it and say, does this hold up to our core values? If the answer is no, you stop and you rework it. If the answer is yes, though, then you can move ahead with full permission because you know you're on the right track. Core values are the single most important driving force behind every decision and interaction you and your team make within your business. They have to become ingrained. It's like breathing. It's how your business functions in the big moments as well as in the daily grind. Make these core values your guiding principles to line every aspect of your business. So let's talk about how to create your set of core values. And I'm going to give this as a step-by-step because I like to give people tangible things you can walk away with and actually do it. So we're not just sitting here talking philosophy and going, yeah, it sounds awesome, but now what? How do I get this done? So here's the step-by-step for creating core values for your business. First, as important as these are, do not overcomplicate this, okay? Because I'll tell you from experience, it is easy to overthink these and get into a paralyzed state, which is not helpful. I overcomplicated core values for so long that I didn't make any for any of my first businesses. A big mistake, and I would love to save you from that right now, friends. We actually came up with and fully embraced TandemWorks and Mac and V's core values in 2020, which was just 2 years ago at the time of this recording. And I really wish we had done this sooner. It's not as hard as I made it out to be in my head. A little hint for you here. I'll bet you really do already know your business core values and what they are. You just need to unpack them, clearly state them, and then get them written down. Okay, so step 1. List out your personal values. What do you personally align with? Go for a list of 10, 15 words or phrases. Then I want you to look at those and start to do what we call keep, kill, and combine. So you're going to circle the ones you like, you're keeping those, you're mashing together concepts that are similar, that's combining them, and then you're scratching off, you're killing off anything you don't truly love. Keep working this exercise. You could even set yourself a timer. That way, again, you're not overcomplicating this and spending too long. Another little hint here, you may find it helpful to list the things you don't align with as well. Sometimes that helps to spark some ideas. Okay, step 2. You're going to put a date and time on your calendar and physically go somewhere outside of your normal workspace or home, like a favorite coffee shop, a park, or heck, go hike a mountain. Just get out of your normal space. Now, take the words you wrote down and start creating definitions for them. Look again for overlap in concepts. Write like you're explaining this core value to your mother or a friend outside of your business. Through this process, new thoughts are going to emerge, and then you can go with those and you can add and scratch things as you go. Okay, step 3. Ask yourself these 3 questions. First, do these values represent who we are as a business? Second, do they represent who we want to be? And third, do these represent how we want to be seen? I'm going to go over those again real quick. So 1, do these values represent who we are as a business? 2, do they represent who we want to be? And 3, do these represent how we want to be seen? I suggest taking a little time with this. You're going to sleep on it for a few days, weeks, and maybe even a month. But don't take too long. This is where the danger of overthinking comes into play. When you know, you know. So go with your gut. Okay, step 4. Come back to what you have and make any final edits or adjustments. Refine and simplify the core values that are emerging. At this point, you want to get them into short, easy to remember format. Then commit to them. Write them down, keep them visual. You could put them on your screensaver, make a fun poster, get t-shirts printed, get socks printed, make coasters. You could put them on your website, and sure, Go for it. Get those big, cool vinyl graphics and paste them up on the wall for all the world to see. The point is to make them part of your day. It's kind of like water, or like breathing, or like toilet paper, or... Okay, well, maybe the toilet paper is the wrong context, but you kind of get my point. These need to be everyday use core values, not just some big bold letters on the wall or some Google Drive document you never look at. To give you a little inspiration, I want to share a couple of businesses' core values that I personally love. Sometimes looking at other businesses' core values helps spark some ideas. So this is actually a company I worked at. It's called Bulu Inc. And these were their 4 core values. We're fearless, we take foundership, our work is first class, and we're friendly. And I'm going to tell you real quick, when I first worked there, one of these core values has changed slightly. It literally said, we're not assholes. And I think they've changed that to we're friendly. But I love those. Fearless, foundership, first class, friendly. Think about everything that really encompasses. Okay, a big company that we could take a look at would be 3M. They use more sentence structure. So again, these could be sentences, they could be words. It's up to you. 3M's core values are act with uncompromising honesty and integrity in everything we do. Satisfy our customers with innovative technology and superior quality and service. Provide our investors an attractive return through sustainable global growth. Respect our social and physical environment around the world. Value and develop our employees' diverse talents, initiative, and leadership. And then finally, earn the admiration of all those associated with 3M worldwide. I really love that last one. In my opinion, you could almost make that one core value, right? Earn the admiration of all those associated with my business worldwide. I mean, if that's your core value, that kind of holds you accountable to a lot, right? In all areas. Okay, I've got just a couple more here for you. This is Huddle. Huddle's core values are dominate, we listen, we're a family, we thrive on the front lines, we're respectfully blunt. I love those. Dominate. When you think about that, like everything that could encompass, we're a family. That gives you a real sense of what type of company this is and how they're going to operate. Okay, last one here. I've got to throw in Southwest Airlines. They're awesome, right? If you've ever flown Southwest, I love it. I love that I get to pick my own seat. I love that I could take my gear on there. It's no hassle. So I've got to give them a little shout out here. Okay, here's their core values. They break it down really interestingly. They break it down into me, and then they have we, and then they have Southwest. So it's like core values for different areas. I think that's kind of fun. So play with this idea a little bit. The first area that they have is me. So me, core values, is how I personally show up. And they have pride, integrity, humility. And then underneath those, they kind of unpack what that looks like. For example, integrity, act like an owner, choose to do right, be courageous. Humility, don't take yourself too seriously, keep perspective, don't be a jerk. These are great. And so I'd encourage you to check these out. Then they have the second area, which is we, how we treat each other. And they have teamwork, honesty, service with love. And again, they break those down. So teamwork is things like practice civility, embrace team over self, be inclusive. I love how they've broken those down. And that's kind of the definition of the core values. Okay, and then the third area they have is Southwest, how Southwest succeeds. Efficiency, discipline, excellence. So when you put these all together, it's a fun little set here of core values, right? The individual is held to pride, integrity, and humility. The team is held to teamwork, honesty, and service with love. And the company as a whole is held to efficiency, discipline, and excellence. It's a great example of core values. I really love these examples, and there's so many more out there. I think it's great to ask other people in businesses what their core values are and why. It's great to take inspiration and see what also connects with you and your business. Core values are valuable. Pun was 100% intended there. because they tell you a lot about your business, as you can see. It's important to live with them and know your business's core values. Core values give a sense of belonging, a sense of commitment, and they're a guide when things are difficult or hard. And they're also the reminder of when to celebrate. We use them to check ourselves and to check others. Owning a business can be hard, and working with people can be hard. But with core values, it's much easier to check in with yourself and with your team and even with your clients. So I'm curious, what do you think about core values? Do you have some? What are your core values? Are you inspired to create them? Where do you feel stuck creating core values for yourself and for your team? I'd love to hear from you on this topic, so I invite you to drop me a message. My details are in the show notes. You can also check out a blog post all about core values and what ours are here at TandemWorks, which is also linked in the show notes. Okay, my friends, I'm going to invite you to be inspired through the rest of this week, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Riding Tandem is recorded on location at the studios on South 4th in Council Bluffs, Iowa, in cooperation with Todd Studer Productions.